you own it. Let every mile bring a smile, yeah.
We're back.
Welcome back to the Road of Life podcast
Welcome.
with Bennett and McKay.
What are we talking about this week, McKay?
This week we're talking about apologizing
Yeah.
and what a critical skill it is in relationships.
Huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know how to do it well. Like,
No.
we hear a lot of times on the phone with people and clients and folks that's like, they're talking about these problems that they've had and how I've apologized. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I've said I'm sorry, and it's...
Or on the flip side, I wish they'd just apologize.
Yeah.
He won't tell me. He won't just say he's sorry.
Yeah.
And so I think it comes up a lot.
It does, yeah.
And I think it's a critical skill in all relationships. Like, not
just the
romantic relationships. I
Yeah.
think it's really important in business.
Just being a human being.
Yeah.
It's important to, when you make a mistake, apologize for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Own it. And
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we grow up, at least for me and I think for you, we grow up and we're socialized that being wrong is bad.
Yeah.
You learn don't be wrong.
Well, like, think about school. You get these tests and big red X,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, you take it home and you get a 90 on it, and it's like, yeah, but what about the other 10% you got wrong? That's not good.
Yeah. So I feel like we learn that being wrong is bad and to
Yeah.
avoid being wrong at all costs, which I think bleeds over a little bit into I don't want to admit that I'm wrong because that means it's bad.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so we're not usually in a hurry to admit our faults and to admit our wrongs.
And I think a lot of it too, when you're a kid, and if you did something wrong,
You got in
you
trouble.
might have got a spanking or
at least a timeout
or a timeout or something happened,
consequences.
and that just that imprinted on your little 3-year-old, 4-year-old brain, carried that with you forever. Making mistakes is bad, and I can't acknowledge them. I don't want to acknowledge them.
And so I think that's part of it. And so I think in order to be able to apologize, it takes a lot of courage, which takes a lot of vulnerability. I think like a smidge of humility too, to be able to acknowledge and own when you've, not been your best self or not lived up to someone's expectation of you or your expectation of yourself. It takes humility to admit that. It takes courage and it takes vulnerability. And those three things are not easy.
They're tough.
Yeah,
They're tough.
But I think when you do it well, when you can apologize and you've got a relationship where apologies are normalized and you can apologize, that builds trust in a relationship.
And the more you do
intimacy.
it, and the more you do it, the less scary and the less big it feels.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
When you can just make it a normal part of your relationship, apologizing just becomes, another skill, another tool in the tool belt that you use
Yeah.
when you need to.
Yeah. So we've heard from a lot of folks that, past wrongs have not been addressed, apologized for, not been forgiven. I've done this, but she won't forgive me, or he won't forgive me. And have you apologized? And if you have, what was that? What did that look like? And so we did some research, and we thought, what does an apology look like?
I actually remember listening to a Brené Brown podcast like years ago when we were still working in our corporate jobs, still living in Ontario, and she had Harriet Lerner on, and she was talking about the elements of a sincere, genuine, effective apology. And so when we started to see this coming up,
Dig into this a little
we
bit.
started digging into that research a little bit more, and it was like,
There's like 6 things.
yeah,
There's six steps or 6 elements to a great apology, and I think it's really cool and really important for folks to understand when they're apologizing for something, what makes a great apology. And so the first step or the first element is express remorse.
yeah,
Like, actually
be sorry for
actually
what you've
be
done.
sorry. Actually understand that what you did was wrong and you are remorseful for it.
Because an apology where someone apologizes, but they're not sorry for what they did, what's the point?
Yeah.
There is no apology if there's no remorse or feeling.
Yeah, like if you're just apologizing because, this person got mad at me and I know we're in an awkward position, I don't actually like think that I did anything wrong here, but I know that they think I do, so I'm just going to apologize. It's going to come off as insincere. Like the other person will clearly understand that you are not actually apologetic. You are not actually sorry for this
Right.
this act. So
And-
yeah, the first thing is really actually express your remorse.
And following right along with that, I think it almost overlaps in some places, is the taking responsibility. So going back to what you just said, if you don't think you actually did anything wrong,
You won't take responsibility.
you're definitely not taking responsibility for anything. And so when you've done something, regardless of what it is, who you hurt with it, take responsibility for it. And I think something we hear a lot is, I apologized. It's like, okay, well, tell me what that apology, like, tell me that apology. And it's like, I'm sorry if what I said hurt your feelings.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
That-
you made me do it.
Right? That's not taking responsibility. That's putting it on me.
Yeah.
If you're apologizing to me and you're saying, I'm sorry if what I said hurt you, but
I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, but you're kind of soft.
like, that doesn't take responsibility for what you've done.
No, you've put it on the other
You
person.
put it on me.
Yeah.
You made me feel like I've
Did the
reacted.
wrong. You were the wrong. You were in the wrong.
I'm in the
like,
wrong.
I did something normal and you overreacted. That's not taking responsibility.
correct.
And that's not going to go well in your relationship.
That's not going to be an apology I'm inclined to accept and
Right.
forgive based on.
Yeah.
So remorse and responsibility.
And then the third element is, like, if you've done something wrong, stop doing it. Like, avoid repeating the wrong. If you know that the thing you did the first time hurt somebody and you're apologizing for it, make sure you don't keep doing that thing. Otherwise, the apology
Loses a lot of value if you have to
Loses-
repeat it.
all value.
Like, if you've got to keep repeating your apology because you keep repeating the behavior, your apology means nothing to me because you obviously aren't learning anything from it.
Or you're not, or maybe
Or
you're
you-
just not actually sorry. Like going back to the first one,
Right.
you're not actually remorseful.
Right. Or you take no responsibility.
Yep.
So then the fourth element is to make amends. Like, you've done wrong. You've acknowledged you've done wrong. You feel bad for doing wrong. You're not going to do it again. But
Make it up.
there's
Make it-
still an element of make it up to the person if you can. Not every single
Yeah,
thing can be made up to someone, obviously.
I'm sorry I did this. Let me make it up to you by taking you out for dinner or whatever it is. Let me do this for you in place of that.
So whatever you can do to make amends to that person,
Yep.
that needs to be part of a sincere apology.
Yeah, element 5 is you may be ready to apologize, but the other person may not quite be ready yet, depending on the level of hurt, the thing that was done. They may not yet be ready to receive that apology. So the fifth element is to give them space, give the other person space, because we all digest and we all process and we all do these things on our own time. And
Trying to force your apology on someone who's not ready to receive that apology is all about you. When the apology is meant to be for the other person, you're meant to be apologizing to whoever you hurt, so it's meant to be for them. And so by you overriding my need for space and shoving an apology down my throat that I'm not ready for,
yeah,
it's all about you.
I said sorry. You should now accept it and let's move on.
Right.
Th-
I've
that-
apologized. We're done here.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's not about you. They're the aggrieved. They're the one that's hurt.
Right.
Let's let them digest this and process this on their time. So let's give them the space to do that. Depending on the level of the hurt, the wrong,
That might take some time.
that might take a little longer than you're comfortable with. But guess what? It's not about you. It's about them. So let them do their thing.
And then the last element of an effective, sincere apology is the learning and the growth.
Yeah.
And so when you can demonstrate to the person you're apologizing to that you've learned from your behavior, you've learned from this outcome, you've learned from this situation, and you're going to do something to grow from it so that you don't do it again, going back to the no repetition,
Yeah.
then that makes it easier on the person you're apologizing to believe you, to accept it, to maybe forgive you.
And maybe it'll take less time for them to process it and get through whatever it is they're getting through.
Right. So those are the 6 elements of what makes a really good apology. If you want to apologize to someone and hopefully have them accept it.
Yeah. And like I say, and maybe it takes knowing that you're doing this from the heart and it's an effective, meaningful apology, the time it takes for them to process that and to quote unquote get over whatever it is that they're the thing that was happened, it might shorten that time span.
Yeah, but it helps everyone involved.
Yep.
And what you were just saying about, how long it might take someone to get to the point that they're ready to receive it, ready to accept it, and potentially ready to forgive, kind of brings up the next part of apologizing.
Yeah, there's two sides, right?
There's two sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think on the first part, if someone apologizes to you sincerely with all of these elements and, you can tell they feel bad, they've taken responsibility, they're not going to do it again, they've made amends, they've given you the space to process and they've shown you that they've grown, that they're learning from it.
Because we're all humans. We all make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. This is going to happen. Like
For
people in
sure.
your life that you love are going to make a mistake and it might hurt.
Yeah. And I think when you get that sincere apology, you do your best to accept it.
Yeah.
If you're in a relationship with someone, business, romantic, friendship, family, kids, everybody.
If it's a relationship that means something to you, and obviously it does to this person, if they've gone out of their way to make such a heartfelt apology that means something, then
I think it's on you
Yeah.
to do your best to accept it.
yeah. And once you do,
It's gotta be over.
Yeah, you can't carry that. Once you accept somebody's apology, you can't carry that through into future
Arguments.
disagreements and future conversations because it just shows that you actually didn't.
Accept it.
Yeah,
Forgive them.
you didn't forgive them. You didn't accept their apology. Like, oh, remember that time when you did that? Yeah, but you said that you accepted my apology. I apologize. You said you forgave me for that, and now you're bringing it up again, which shows that you actually haven't. So apologizing is a two-way street, and there's the person should be very remorseful, have the accountability, follow all these elements of a great apology, but also there's a responsibility on the receiving end to either accept it or don't, because in some cases maybe you can't. Maybe it's something so egregious that you can't get past it, and that's okay. Like that happens.
Sucks, but it happens.
And it's your decision, it's your choice. But to your point, I think we all owe it to ourselves and mostly to ourselves to try our best to get over whatever it was and to accept it. And if we do, that's now gone. It's behind us.
That's one of the elements, I think, of fighting fair. Like we've got a few rules about fighting fair, and I think one that falls into this category is you don't bring up stuff that you've forgiven. If you've forgiven it, that means you've put it away. It's gone.
It's gone.
You can't keep throwing it back in that person's face.
Yeah.
That's a rule. That's not a fair fight.
Yeah. So I thought that this was just a really cool, point of discussion around apologies, especially for folks who are going through a tough time in their relationships, whatever that is. And so if that's the case and you have something that you feel like you should apologize for that you haven't, maybe now's the time to take stock of that relationship and whether it's a good time to reach out to that person and implement an effective apology and get that relationship back to where you want it.
And I think especially if you've got kids, normalizing apologies.
Yeah.
Like
kids can struggle with that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Kids struggle with that for sure. Because it goes along with what we talked about at the beginning, with how you learn. Like,
feels like you made a wrong and you don't want to.
You don't want to get in trouble and you don't want to own it. And so I think normalizing apologies in front of kids. So not only letting kids see mom apologize to someone or dad apologize to someone or auntie, whoever.
Apologize to them.
Also apologize to the kids.
Yeah.
So that they can know how it feels to receive an apology so that they can then turn around and offer one to someone else. And so I think normalizing apologies in your household, whatever that household looks like, especially if there's kids, because I think that's something that's really tough to learn, and it's tougher to learn as you get older.
Yeah.
As you get more dug in to your
set in your ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And so setting the example, being the example, so that kids can also see it and experience it.
Totally. So yeah, that's, I think, the takeaway is, I think, just take stock of, is there anything out there that you need to apologize for, or is there something out there that someone's apologized to you and it felt heartfelt and you haven't gotten past it yet? And is there anything you can do about that? Think about that. But anything else, McKay?
No, I would just say thanks for listening. And if you got anything that you might implement out of this episode, anything of value, forward it along to somebody else, or feel free to like it, review it, share it.
Always helps with the algorithm so we can help more people.
That's right.
Yep. We're on that mission. So anyways, thanks everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
Road of life, yes, you're on.